With the release of the Egyptian God decks, we got several playable support cards for the gods. And although these sets are kind of contributing to a growing line of structure decks that have no real impact on high-tier meta play, I would like to show you what I believe is the most competitive way to play the new support. Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to be mixing the Egyptian God support with the Numeron engine. The goal of doing this is to allow the Numeron engine to both function as a draw engine and an engine to set up cards that allow us to easily tribute summon out our monsters with only one card. Additionally, the Egyptian God cards and the support surrounding them has a tendency to be rather bricky. Being able to activate Numeron Network and go into a one-card Star Yugioh to draw 4 and put 3 back is a very easy way for us to unbrick our hands and continue playing. Now, out of the new support, the only cards that we're going to be playing are Soul Crossing and Thunder Force Attack. We're going to be using these because they are extremely high impact and can be used on either player's turn. Now, I don't have any combos to show in this video. This deck is pretty straightforward, so we're just going to be jumping straight into the gameplay. Our first matchup is going to be against Phantom Knights, and we're going second. Now, this is actually a really fantastic matchup for us, because Phantom Knights excel at making monster negates. But we don't care that much about those, because most of our high impact cards in this deck are either spells or traps. Now realistically, I believe our opponent messed up here. We probably should have had to have been staring down the rank up magic on top of this, and the rank up magic would have dealt 3 additional monster negates, but we opened Soul Crossing, and that would allow us to tribute all of our opponent's monsters in order to summon a god card. It lets us tribute monsters on field, ours or our opponent's. So we can just tribute 3 of our opponent's monsters to slap down Slifer. But either way, we're going to be able to resolve our Numeron network and draw 4 cards even before that happens. Now generally you do want to hold Soul Crossing whenever possible, and that's one of the biggest things to know in this deck, because it can be used on yours or your opponent's turn, so it is a valuable trap card. But do know, if you use it, you can only activate 1 more card or effect per turn until the end of the next turn. So it's good to think of it as something like Trap Trick, knowing that you activate it as kind of the last card, and that you kind of want to be sure that you use everything else, if at all possible. Soul Crossing is definitely one of the most powerful cards in this deck, but you will notice, especially in this replay, that this deck can generate so much advantage so quickly. So you need to be a little careful about when you use it, because it doesn't matter how many cards you have if you can only activate 1 that entire turn. The other new card here is Thunder Force Attack. This is a quick play spell card that you can activate if you control Slifer the Sky Dragon. This lets you destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Then, if you activated it during your main phase, you can draw cards up to the number of monsters sent to the grave. I know it's kind of funny that it has that clause, especially in an era where pendulum monsters exist, but the monsters do have to be sent to grave. Being a quick play spell card, Thunder Force Attack can also be used on the opponent's turn to just blow up their field. This does give extra utility to Slifer even if you have it out with 0 attack, but as much as you draw in this deck, realistically you shouldn't have Slifer out with 0 attack very often. I mean, we just outgrinded Phantom Knights going second. You do also have to be a little bit careful in this deck because we are running 3 copies of Reckless Greed, so you're going to be under Reckless Greed a lot. But in this specific scenario, we do also have a set Solemn Judgment, so realistically this game's over. In our next replay, we're going to be going up against Lightsworn, and yet again, we're going second. Now I chose this specific replay because in this game we aren't actually going to be using the Numeron engine at all. Instead, we're going to be taking advantage of something that the Numeron engine provides within the deck. Because we play so many cards that can search field spells, we can play different cards besides just Numeron Network, such as Mystic Mine and Mound of the Bound Creator. Mound of the Bound Creator makes it to where any level 10 monster you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effect. We can use this with the Egyptian gods to make them difficult to remove from the field, but if we use this with Egyptian god Slime, it makes it to where it cannot be targeted, destroyed by battle, or by card effect, making the card very difficult to deal with. Additionally, Egyptian God Slime can be treated as 3 tributes for your summon of your Egyptian God card, and when Mound of the Bound creator is destroyed, it lets you search for one of your Egyptian gods, meaning if they can out the Mound of the Bound creator, but they can't out the Egyptian God Slime, they're going to have to deal with an Egyptian God card on the next turn. Now there is a little bit of a discussion to be had here, in that Egyptian God Slime is the only expensive card that you have to run in the deck. Now fortunately, you don't have to run 3 copies of it. You could probably get away with 2 or maybe 1, but if you can't run Egyptian God Slime at all, you might need to find an alternative engine. You might try something like Venus or Paleos, but realistically, nothing's going to quite replace Egyptian God Slime. You could also just try running more trap cards. Now there is one other big benefit that the Numeron engine provides within the deck, being the Numeron engine. Your opponent has to be very careful, or else they can very easily get OTK'd off of just Numeron network. Honestly, I feel like this field spell is one of the most powerful field spells ever printed, and it just needs the right home to go into. I'm not saying this is necessarily the right home, but this is definitely a place where it can fit. I mean, it's also really funny to tell somebody that you're playing an Egyptian God deck, only to activate Numeron Network and OTK them with that. Check out my Egyptian God deck OTK. Ta-da! I feel like what's been said so far about this deck has been pretty comprehensive. I feel like there can be a few changes that you can make, like there's some improvements that can be done to the build for sure, but I would highly recommend trying it out for yourself and kind of getting a feel for it. It's a lot of fun to play. Now there was one more thing that I wanted to mention here. I feel like people are really hard on the Egyptian God decks as a product, and I really don't feel like they're that bad of a product. No, they're not the Salamangreat structure deck or the Shadal structure deck. They're not competitive, and I don't think they're supposed to be. They are structure decks, but I think they're a lot better of a product if you look at them as something like a starter deck. If you think of them as a starter deck, they're just a dramatic improvement compared to past starter decks. And starter decks are there to bring people into the game and kind of teach them the basics, which I feel like is exactly what this structure deck was designed to do. Additionally, the Egyptian God decks make for really good structure deck tournaments. This past weekend, I competed in a structure deck tournament featuring the Egyptian God decks. Shoutouts to Action Sports for hosting that. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoy structure deck tournaments. They're my favorite side event, and this was probably my favorite structure deck tournament I've ever played. This is really well put together for sealed play. In fact, if you really wanted to, you could play this as a discount version of something like GOAT format. I'm gonna get so much hate from GOAT players for saying that. Now they had 2 different days for the structure deck tournament, one for Obelisk and one for Slifer, and I ended up winning the Slifer day, so at some point I'm gonna end up facing the winner of the Obelisk tournament. That's gonna be a lot of fun. At the end of it, I might even give out a deck profile on the Slifer. Wait, that's just the back of the box. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you'd like to see next in the comment section down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to contact me directly, you can do so over Discord, link in the description.